My name is Emma Zingle. Well, Emma Grace Zingle, if you want the full name. I'm 16 and a junior at Middletown High School. I was born in New Britain, but I've lived in Middletown my entire life. My grandparents lived like right outside of Boston, so I spent a lot of my childhood there too, or around that general area. So I grew up in like pretty busy city scheme, which was a bit overwhelming as a child. I mean, not too much. I didn't really pay that much attention because I'm a kid. I don't really care. I'm used to it at this point. I was a really weird kid. I'm still really weird, but that's not a bad thing. It's not like, I'm not like creepy weird. I'm just like unique. There we go. That was the word I was looking for. Very into art growing up. I'm still very into art and sports as well. Sports are a huge thing in my family. Just a very active and unique childhood. I have generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, social anxiety, a little bit of OCD thrown in there. It's not like, so it's technically not a diagnosed mental illness, but I do have very obsessive moments, whether it's through repetition of like physical tics. I have physical anxiety tics, or like not perfecting things the first time. I do it multiple times, not for like when regular OCD, if they think something bad is gonna happen, I just don't. It irks me, kind of. For the past few years, I have struggled with some lower self-esteem issues. It's a typical thing for a high schooler, you know, nothing too severe. That's pretty much it for in terms of like diagnosed things. There may be a couple other things floating there, but who knows? Who knows what goes through my brain at this point? So, I was a very shy, sort of timid kid. I'm very ambiverted, which means like I'm very particular about like who I'm introverted with and who I'm extroverted with. Like I'm both, and I can be both, but in my case, I'm very particular with it. Anxiety. So it started off as I was 6 years old, first grade, at Farm Hill Elementary School. I was fine, you know, like literally it came out of nowhere, sorta. Like I'd like walk into school and immediately be hit with like overwhelming stomach aches, like headaches. I'd freak out, cry. I wouldn't make it past like the front hallway before my dad would decide to take me home because I refused to stay in the building. So after about a week and a half or so of that, they decided to take me to the doctor because they thought there was something wrong with my stomach, because I was like working myself up to the point where I'd be like throwing up, and it was like not healthy because I'm 6 and I shouldn't be throwing up this much in the span of a week. So they brought me to the doctor. I got an ultrasound and everything was like fine. Like nothing was wrong. They did a physical. Everything was fine. So they referred me over to a psychiatrist, who then came to the conclusion that I have generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder. So it definitely came up at a very young age, as opposed to most students or children who would typically find that around middle school or high school. Mine was super young. My family is very supportive of me, no matter what. Like, they always want me to, like, they want me to be independent about it. Now that I've reached my high school years, I realize, and they realize as well, that I can't sort of have someone to hold my hand through life. So I have to learn how to cope with these things on my own. But they're still super supportive of me in any decision I make based around my anxiety or any other mental illnesses. My brother's super supportive. He's learned how to recognize it. Any of my close friends, you know, typically it's a big dictator in terms of who wants to become close with me and who doesn't. It definitely affects friendships, because some people can't, like, handle it. Like, they can't handle the constant panic attacks or mood changes or that sort of thing. So if they don't want to be a part of that, they typically don't really get that close with me or remain friends with me, which I'm fine with. You're not going to support me, don't waste your time. My old dog, Baxter, he helped a lot. He was basically, like, he had become an emotional support dog at that point, because he was able to recognize, like, when panic attacks were coming or that sort of thing. We're still working on that with my new dog. But she's definitely super protective, so if I am having a panic attack and she's around, she is able to recognize distress and sort of come help with that. Teachers at school have always been very aware of it. I do have a 504 for school, and they are all fully aware of it. I make sure they're aware of it, so if I happen to leave class unexcused, they know what the reason is, and I don't get written up for it. You know? That sort of thing. I'm extremely open about it. It's not something I'm really embarrassed about. I know a lot of people tend to hide it, but I don't like to do that. I like people around me to be aware of what is going on within my brain. That way I'm not being judged. I mean, I'm gonna get judged regardless, because that's what people do, but that way they know what's going on, as opposed to me just like freaking out. Like if I fail a test and I'm sitting over here freaking out, like other people are like, why are you having like a whole meltdown over it? It's just like a test. Things like that. And that way, if other people who do struggle from similar like scenarios as me, they are aware that there's somebody they can come talk to, or somebody else who relates to them. Like, I love to be open and welcoming to other people around me, like regardless of their situation or background. Walking through the hallways is really stressful, because with my anxiety, I'm like, everyone's looking at me, they're judging me, like it doesn't matter. Like if I'm comfortable with what I'm wearing, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna like think I'm crazy for wearing this outfit, or like I'm carrying like a poster. Like today, I walked in with a poster board, and literally as soon as I walked in, I was like, everyone's staring at me because I have a giant board. I'm like, everyone's looking at me, I need to get to this class now. I look like an idiot walking around with this giant poster. Which I know I don't, it's just like, that's just how my brain works. Meeting new people, I have gotten a lot better at. Adults stress me out more than children do. Not females as much. It's more males, anywhere from the age of like late 30s to beyond. Like adult males just sort of make me anxious, especially when speaking with them. I don't know, I just feel like they're the most judgmental people. I can recognize relatively fast like who I am comfortable with and who I am not, so that definitely weighs heavily in my meeting new people or talking to people. I'm not as bad anymore. Like I can hold conversation with people. I can go up to people and talk to them without worry, you know, that sort of thing. There are certain people who I choose not to talk to. Doesn't matter if I know them or not. It's just I don't feel comfortable talking to them just based on how they act and their sort of like reputation, I guess. If you've seen somebody do things that don't really I don't like, then I'm not going to waste my energy with that particular person. Getting jobs isn't too difficult. I mean, at work, because I do bust tables sometimes, it gets really stressful, but it sort of works to my advantage because my brain is constantly like, oh, there's a table, look for more tables, like, go to this one, go here, go there. So it's like my fast-paced brain sort of works with my body, so I'm able to do things quicker. If there are certain things that trigger it, so like loud noises and big crowds, I don't like. I do have physical tics that pop up sometimes. I have a neck tic, so I go like this and like this if there's like a loud noise or I'm stressed out. Like you may have noticed it, I touch my nose a lot. I play with my fingers. I have restless leg syndrome, and that does draw heavy attention a lot of the time. Like I've had friends sort of like joke about it or not make fun of it. It like tease sort of. It's not like I don't get upset about it. It's just sort of like, oh look, she's doing the neck tic again, and I'm like, yeah, I am. But even at track meets and stuff, the gun, it freaks me out. Like my neck tic acts up anytime the gun goes off. And it doesn't matter where I am on the track, as soon as I hear it, it's just like my brain is instant panic mode. I don't have a panic attack, it just freaks me out for a split second, and then I'm fine. So it's like, it screws things up a lot sometimes, but I'm able to work my way around it, if that makes sense. I'm technically classified as a special ed student for my anxiety, so I go to ESS, group therapy. I go to the library too sometimes because I have a good support group in there. I have extended time on tests if I don't finish them, or schoolwork if I don't finish it on time due to my anxiety or having to leave class. I'm a pretty daring person. I tend to think that I can do things. Even when I've gone cliff jumping, I'm fine on the way up and I'm about to jump and I'm fine, and then last second it's like, oh, I'm gonna die, and I freak out, and that's how I get hurt. My emotions go heavy into my artwork, and it's pretty obvious. There's one of them where you look at it and you're like, oh, that is angry. Or like even some of my photography, like I don't mean to put like emotion into it, but there's definitely some of my pieces that have clear emotion behind them. Like some of the football pictures, like the one of them running out of the gate up there, like that's just pure rage in that photo. Like that sort of thing. I tend to stick more to like psychedelic, like brightly colored sort of fantasy pieces because I don't like reality, to be honest with you. I like to make pieces that not only show my emotion but also invoke emotion in other people or myself when I look at them. So a lot of the times I make like trippy artworks, that way when I look at it I'm like, oh, that's dope. Like that doesn't make sense, but I like it. And it's just like the process itself, because I can finally sit down and focus on something, as opposed to my brain constantly going like, oh my gosh, I have a test tomorrow, I have like this today, I messed up on my project. Like it's like okay, we're stopping, this color goes here, like these complement this. It's just focusing on the art itself and not everything around it. And like it makes me happy. Like when I take a good photo, it's like that moment, if you score a goal in a soccer game or you win first place in a race, you're just like, that is a sick photo and I cannot wait to edit that and transfer and edit that. Everything goes into it, you know? And then it's like, or even when people buy my work, I'm like, that makes me happy because it shows me that somebody else sees something. Like they see what I see and they enjoy that. It's a competitive field. Like there's gonna be competition. And I become extremely competitive when it comes to things that I enjoy. So if I'm trying to pursue a career here, it definitely, like, I put a lot of pressure on myself because I want to excel. I want to exceed others. Like, I want to win. That is my goal. Art degrees are liberal art degrees. If you get one, like, it's so incredibly difficult to find a job because I can't get my degree and just jump right into, like, oh, I'm a photography business now. Like, I'm gonna need a job at some point, like an actual 9-to-5 job at some point. And a lot of the times, like, people look at an art degree and they're just sort of like, well, what can you do? There's no real, like, you make art, yay! So, yeah, but I also want to get a business degree, so that'll definitely help out, so I'm not too concerned about that. In the moment of a panic attack, I have this thing called grounding, where I find a thing for each sense, basically. So something I can see, something I can hear, something I can smell, something I can touch, and something I can taste, and I name it. Or if I'm having a panic attack where my sensory overload is acting up and my eyes are darting around like I'm picking up all these sounds at once, I tend to focus on one item. So say it's like that painting over there. I focus on it. I say, all right, what is this item? Like I name it and I describe it in full detail. That way I can sort of ground myself and focus on that one item in order to recollect my brain. I make art a lot. I typically distract myself with some form of social media, whether that be snapping my friends, going on Instagram, watching YouTube videos, anything to cheer me up or defer me away from the stress. Don't be ashamed of it and do not be afraid to talk to people about it. My biggest thing is, like, when I find myself alone, like at night and my parents are asleep or my friends are like asleep or doing their own thing or whatever, that is when it hits me the hardest. And I sort of like, it's like decompressing after the day and you get to think everything through and then it sort of all hits you at once and you're like, oh my god, like this is awful. Being able to talk to people is definitely a must. I think it's a necessity when it comes to mental illness. Like, you have to be able to be open with people or at least put your thoughts somewhere else. Not to burden other people with your thoughts, but put it somewhere else or express it in some way, shape, or form. That way it's not stuck inside your head and you have to deal with it, If you can seek help for it, whether that be through therapy, which helped for me a lot in my childhood, or even like going to the doctor and being medicated for it, I tend to steer away from medication solely because like I just don't want to be medicated, It's not something that I feel is necessary, but if it is for somebody else, then definitely take that path. And know that there are other people around you with the same, not identical struggles, but similar. They go through similar things like you. There's always going to be somebody who understands. And it's good to talk to those people. Like, don't shelter yourself away from other people who are trying to help. I am always open to other people's issues. Like, I am the therapist friend. And I know it's probably not great for me a lot of the time, but even still, if it means I can help them, I'm perfectly fine with that. And anybody with anything, doesn't matter who you are, like, what's your gender, sexuality, like, race, I don't care. I really don't. I mean, I do. It's what makes you unique, but I'm not going to judge you based off of that. No matter who you are, you always have me, and I'm always open to talking to anybody and helping anybody, because I feel it's important that everybody should have somebody, no matter who it is. I have two sides. A serious side, and then me.